The invitation arrived wrapped in silver foil, embossed lettering, heavy cardstock, the kind of thing that smells like money and expectation. The Bennett Family Gala, a celebration of excellence and legacy. I stared at it for a full minute before realizing what it was. A celebration for my father, Judge Robert Bennett, marking his 40 years on the bench. The irony wasn't lost on me. A celebration of excellence. From a family that never considered me part of their legacy. The card shimmered under the morning light that spilled through my office window. My office on the top floor of Lumina Events. The company I'd built from nothing. But coffee, insomnia, and a stubborn refusal to stay small. I traced my finger over the venue name, embossed in delicate cursive. The Luminara Grand. My throat tightened. Of course it was there. My family always did have a talent for irony. Because the Luminara Grand belonged to me. They just didn't know it yet. The envelope came with a note. Short, cold, predictable. Nora. This is a formal invite. Though it's probably best if you don't come. The event is very exclusive. And we don't want you to feel out of place. Love, Mom. Love. The word looked awkward next to her handwriting. Like she'd borrowed it for formality. I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the city skyline. The glass reflected a woman they would never recognize. Neat bun, tailored navy suit. The quiet power of someone who'd stopped asking for permission. When I left the family law firm 10 years ago, my father called me impulsive. My mother called me ungrateful. And Vanessa, my older sister, the golden one, smirked and said, "Some people just aren't built for real professions." That night, I packed my things, sold my car, and built my first event planning startup in a rented warehouse with leaking ceilings. Now that hobby manages events for tech giants, luxury brands, and global charity galas. And the Luminara Grand? It's Lumina's crown jewel. The venue I secretly purchased through a holding company last year. So when Mom's note said, "You'll feel out of place," she wasn't wrong. I'd built a world they'd never fit into. The day of the gala arrived dressed in winter gold. Downtown shimmered with lights. And the Luminara's mirrored towers glowed like glass fire. Outside, photographers huddled in clusters, waiting for politicians and socialites to arrive. Inside, my staff was already working. And none of them knew I'd be attending as a guest, not their CEO. Tonight, I wanted to see my family's faces before they realized the truth. I slipped into a black evening gown. Elegant, understated, expensive, without trying too hard. Leo, my partner, the man who knew every scar behind my smile, adjusted my bracelet. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked softly. I met his eyes in the mirror. 10 years ago, they told me I'd never belong at their table. Tonight, I built the table. He smiled, pride and worry woven together. "If things get ugly," "They already did," I said gently. "Now it's time they see what survival looks like." I picked up a slim silver clutch. Inside it, one small envelope, sealed and heavy. A gift, but not the kind they expected. When I arrived, the entrance was a blur of flashbulbs and designer perfume. Guests in satin gowns laughed under chandeliers I'd approved personally. Everything gleamed. The marble floors, the gold fixtures, even the fountain shaped like a blooming iris. And then I saw her, Vanessa, standing at the doors like she owned them, in a sequin gown that looked more effort than taste. Her husband, Gavin Price, the investment banker who lived off charm and ego, hovered by her side, sipping champagne before the party even began. When she spotted me, her expression froze, then shifted into a smile as sharp as glass. "Well," she drawled, "look who decided to show up. I didn't realize you got an invite." I did. I held up the card. Though, apparently, I wasn't meant to. She laughed softly, touching Gavin's arm. Oh, Nora, you really shouldn't take everything so personally. This is a professional event. We wouldn't want you to feel misplaced, Gavin added with a smirk. It's quite an expensive affair. The kind of place that expects six-figure donors. I'm sure, I replied evenly. You'll be generous enough for the both of us. His grin faltered. He didn't like women who didn't flinch. Behind them, I saw my parents approaching. My mother, Evelyn, in pearls and politeness. My father, Robert, in a tux that screamed legacy more than love. When my mother saw me, her eyes flickered. Shock first, then annoyance. Nora, she said tightly. You got the invitation. I did. And you decided to come anyway? Why wouldn't I? I asked, calm as still water. Because, Vanessa said, lowering her voice, this is Dad's night. For people who actually made something of themselves. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because they were true, but because once upon a time, I believed them. I smiled faintly. Well then, I suppose we'll see who belongs. At that moment, a staff member brushed past, whispering into a headset. I caught her badge Luminara Events Operations. My company. My training. My people. Vanessa noticed the logo and laughed. Oh, isn't that your old company's name? Luminous something? Are you still doing event decorating? I looked straight at her. Yes, I said. You could say I still handle events. She smirked, satisfied that she'd scored a point. Beside her, my mother fussed with her pearl necklace. Sweetheart, we're not trying to embarrass you, she said softly. It's just that this crowd, politicians, CEOs, sponsors, it's not really your world. The marble floor gleamed beneath us, reflecting her perfectly powdered face. Not my world. It was my floor. My chandeliers. My world carved from every night I worked while they slept. But I didn't say that. Not yet. Just then, my father joined the circle. He smiled, polite, distant. Nora, he said, I wasn't expecting you. I can see that. This is a formal event, he continued, glancing over my gown as though inspecting its worth. Are you working tonight? I let the question hang. Vanessa's muffled laughter filled the pause. Dad, she said sweetly. She's probably helping backstage. I met his eyes. No, I said quietly. I'm just here to celebrate your legacy like everyone else. He gave a small, uneasy nod, unsure whether to thank me or dismiss me. Then, try not to cause a scene, he murmured, before heading toward the ballroom doors. Cause a scene. The same phrase he'd used when I quit his law firm. Funny how some things never change. Except me. As the family turned to enter, Vanessa blocked my way again, her smile bright but brittle. Actually, Nora, she said, the guest list is very tight. We only have space for registered donors and speakers. You might want to wait in the lobby. I tilted my head. Are you suggesting I can't come in? Of course not, she purred. Just that it's exclusive. We wouldn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Gavin added with a smirk. Besides, security is strict. No entry without clearance. Security. Right on cue, 2 uniformed guards approached from the lobby doors. They recognized me immediately, both part of my internal team. Their eyes widened slightly. Miss Bennett, one began. But I raised a hand subtly. Not yet, I murmured. I turned back to Vanessa. Well, I said softly, I'd hate to make you uncomfortable. Then I stepped back, clutching my silver envelope. My heart beat steady, calm, deliberate. This was their show, and they didn't know I'd written the script. As I stood near the lobby fountain, a man's voice broke my thoughts. Nora Bennett? I turned. It was Mr. Hollis, my first mentor. The one who'd given me my first contract. When no one else believed in me, he looked older now, but his eyes still carried that kind warmth. I didn't expect to see you here, he said. Neither did they, I replied. He chuckled, glancing at Vanessa across the hall. Still keeping score, are they? Always. His expression softened. You could tell them the truth. I could, I said. But they wouldn't believe it. Not until they're standing in it. He nodded slowly. Then let them stand in it, Nora. You built this place. Time they see the floor beneath their feet. I smiled faintly as he walked away, his words settling deep like a quiet spark. The orchestra began inside, soft violins, polished laughter. Through the glass doors, I could see guests sipping champagne. Beneath cascading crystal chandeliers, all around me, the lights shimmered off marble. I had approved in a design meeting 18 months ago. Every inch of this space carried my signature. Every guest inside was walking through my creation. And my family thought I didn't belong. I looked down at the silver envelope again. My fingers brushed the raised edges of the wax seal. Inside lay the deed to a villa overlooking the Amalfi Coast. A gift I had planned for my father before the insults began. For a moment, I considered leaving. Let them have their perfect evening. Their illusions. Their hierarchy of success. Let them believe I was still the disappointment they needed me to be. But then, Leo's voice echoed in my head. You built the table, Nora. Sit at it. I lifted my chin. The soft click of my heels echoed across the marble. As I walked back toward the doors. Toward the people who once told me I wasn't enough. Vanessa turned, her smirk returning. Change your mind? She asked sweetly. I smiled. Yes, I said. I think I'll stay a while. The orchestra's music pulsed faintly through the glass doors. Violins weaving between laughter, champagne, and applause. Behind that sound was everything my family valued. Reputation, visibility, belonging. And for most of my life, I stood on the other side of that sound, waiting for someone to open the door. Tonight, I wasn't waiting anymore. I stood before the grand entrance. Marble under my heels. Crystal lights paint my skin in gold. Vanessa's laughter was soft, but cutting. Her posture that of a queen before a jester. Nora, she said, lowering her voice to a sweet condescension. I really don't want to embarrass you, but this event has strict registration. You can't just walk in. I can, I said quietly. Her brows arched. Oh, and how's that? Before I could answer, one of the security officers stepped closer. Ms. Bennett, do you need assistance? He asked. Carefully polite? Vanessa turned sharply. Excuse me? Who gave you permission to speak? The officer froze, unsure whether to answer. He looked between us, torn between professional courtesy and confusion. I could almost hear his thoughts. Should he treat me as the CEO? Or as a guest, pretending to be one? Relax, Vanessa, I said calmly. They're just doing their job. Exactly, she snapped. And their job is to protect guests, not outsiders. Outsiders? I've been called many things by my family. Idealist, dropout, disappointment. But somehow, the outsider still cuts the deepest. My mother joined in, her pearls catching the light. Vanessa's right, dear. This isn't personal. You've chosen a different path in life. You wouldn't understand this world anymore? This world? I echoed. She smiled tightly. Professional circles. Influential people. People who matter. I glanced at the crowd inside. Politicians, executives, investors, half of whom had signed event contracts with Lumina events in the last 2 years. People who mattered. I almost laughed. I see, I said softly. And what happens if one of those influential people wants me here? Then they can vouch for you, Vanessa said briskly. But I doubt anyone will. Just then, Gavin's phone buzzed. He stepped aside to take the call, muttering, Yeah, I'm at the Luminara now. What? They what? No, that can't be. Wait. Who's the primary stakeholder again? His tone shifted from irritation to disbelief. He turned to Vanessa, whispering, "Honey, did you know the venue's ownership changed hands recently?" Vanessa frowned. "What are you talking about?" "I'm looking at the press file my assistant just sent. Something about a merger. Lumina Holdings now owns the Luminara Group." "Never heard of them." I pretended to study the chandelier. As their conversation tightened into low murmurs, "That can't be right," Vanessa hissed. "Dad said the hotel is owned by the Kingsleys." "It was," Gavin replied, checking his phone again. "But it looks like they sold a controlling stake last year. To a private investor." "Weird, huh?" My lips curved slightly. Private investor. The truth was dancing right in front of them. They just couldn't see its rhythm yet. My father appeared a few minutes later, adjusting his cufflinks, impatience written across his face. "What's the holdup?" he asked sharply. "Vanessa, guests are waiting." "Dad," she began. "Nora's trying to get in without registration." His gaze moved to me, steady and cool. "You know how this works, Nora? This event is formal. We can't just let the disappointment of the family ruin the photo ops," I said quietly. His jaw clenched. "Don't start." "I'm not starting, Dad. I'm just standing at a door." He sighed, the sound heavy with the same old disappointment. "You made your choices, Nora. You left stability for chaos." "Chaos built this roof," I said under my breath. He frowned. "What was that?" "Nothing." Vanessa folded her arms, smiling. "Dad, it's fine. She can wait in the lobby. We'll send her pictures later." The urge to laugh bubbled up again, almost uncontrollably. All those years of them warning me that chasing dreams would lead to humiliation. And here I was, humiliated. But not because of failure. Because of success they couldn't recognize. I glanced at the glass door, my reflection framed in its golden light. Behind me, staff moved swiftly. Servers carrying trays, stage technicians adjusting mics. My world is working seamlessly. I exhaled slowly. "You know," I said softly, "for people who pride themselves on knowledge, you never really asked what I've been doing all these years." Vanessa shrugged. "We assumed it was event decorating? Something creative?" "Something creative," I repeated. "Yes, you could call it that." My mother chuckled lightly. "Well, we all need hobbies. Vanessa's firm could have used your flair for detail. If you hadn't been so independent." "Independent? They're a polite synonym for disobedient." Just then, a voice cut through the tension. "Ms. Bennett, you're needed inside." All heads turned. The head of operations, my event director, stood at the entrance, tablet in hand, headset glinting under the lights. "Excuse me?" Vanessa said sharply. "Who are you?" "Liam Carson," he replied, "Director of Operations for Lumina Events." My mother frowned. "And what does that have to do with—" He looked straight at me. "Ms. Bennett," he repeated. "The lighting team is waiting for your approval before the presentation begins. Mr. Adams said you'd want to review it personally." Vanessa blinked. "Mr. Adams? Leo Adams?" "Yes, ma'am," Liam replied. "Lumina's co-founder." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then my father cleared his throat. "Wait, you're saying she's part of the event management?" "Part of it?" Liam smiled faintly. "She runs it." Silence. Then Vanessa laughed nervously. "That's ridiculous. Lumina's a huge company. My sister couldn't possibly." "She's the CEO," Liam said simply. Every word landed, like glass shattering on marble. My mother's hand froze midair. My father's expression flickered. Between disbelief and denial, Gavin went pale. His phone still clutched to his ear. "That's impossible," Vanessa muttered. "Lumina handles international clients. Government contracts." "You're saying my little sister?" I looked her dead in the eye. "I told you I still handle events. The orchestra music swelled inside, a perfect crescendo to their silence. Liam gestured politely toward the open doors. Your seats prepared, Ms. Bennett. Front table, next to Mr. Adams. The sponsor section. My family's silence deepened. Finally, my father spoke, voice low and stunned. Sponsor? Liam nodded. Yes, sir. Lumina Events funded the entire evening. The venue, the catering, the production, all courtesy of Ms. Bennett's company. He turned to me again. Would you like an escort to your table? I smiled. No need. I know the way. Vanessa's voice wavered, brittle now. Nora, you didn't say anything. Would you have listened? She didn't answer. As I stepped past them, I caught my father's reflection in the glass. The same man who once told me, no judge's daughter should chase frivolous dreams. And now, here he was, standing beneath the chandelier I'd chosen, outside the ballroom I'd built. The irony was almost poetic. I paused at the threshold and turned back to them. You were right, Vanessa, I said softly. This event is very exclusive. Then I smiled. And I'm the one who wrote the guest list. Inside, applause rippled as Grace Morgan, the influencer hosting the event, took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced brightly, before we begin tonight's celebration, we want to thank our sponsor, a visionary company that made this entire evening possible. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Lumina Events, Ms. Nora Bennett. Gasps filled the room. The spotlight swept across the ballroom and landed on me. I walked forward calm, each step measured, deliberate. Somewhere behind me, I could feel my family frozen in the doorway. Spectators too, a story they thought they'd written. Grace greeted me with a warm smile. We're honored to have you here, Nora. The honor's mine, I said into the microphone. This place holds more meaning than most people realize. I looked out at the sea of faces. Executives, judges, bankers, all applauding politely, unaware that this wasn't just a sponsorship. It was a reclamation. As I sat at the front table, Leo leaned over, his voice low. They didn't make it easy, did they? They never do, I murmured. But the door's open now. And somewhere behind that door, I knew Vanessa was still standing in disbelief. My mother's pearls trembling, my father's pride collapsing under the weight of reality. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It's walking through the same door they tried to close on you and owning the room on the other side. The applause felt heavier than thunder, a sound that rolled straight through my bones. For the first time in years, I wasn't listening to the hallway. I was standing inside the light. Grace Morgan's voice shimmered over the microphone. Let's raise a toast to the visionary whose company made tonight possible. Ms. Nora Bennett of Lumina Events. Applause, flashbulbs, gasps. And beyond the stage lights, three faces frozen in disbelief. My mother's pearls are trembling. My father's jaw is set in stone. My sister's smile is cracking like old porcelain. They finally saw the door they'd kept shut, only to realize owned the hinges. When I stepped off the stage, Leo handed me champagne. You handled that like a queen, he said softly. I handled it, I replied, like someone who's been underestimated too long. He smiled. They're still out there, processing. Let them, I said. It's the first time they've ever had to process me. I didn't have to wait long. My mother arrived first. Perfume first, guilt second. Nora, she breathed, why didn't you tell us? You could have included us. Would you have believed me? I asked. She faltered. Of course, but you sent me a message this morning, telling me not to embarrass you. Color rose to her cheeks. That was a misunderstanding. No, Mother, I said quietly. It was perfectly clear. Then came Vanessa storming in. Gavin trailing like an unhappy shadow. So this was your secret? She snapped. While we were worrying about saving face, you were running a whole empire behind ours? I wasn't hiding anything, I said. I was building what you told me couldn't exist. You made us look like fools. You did that yourselves, I said evenly. Gavin stepped forward. Do you have any idea how this affects my clients? My reputation? I looked at him, calm. You'll survive, Gavin. I did. Vanessa's voice wavered. Do you enjoy humiliating your family? Humiliation? I said. That requires intention. I smiled. I just walked through a door. You locked. She opened her mouth. But Grace Morgan's bright voice cut through from the stage. Tonight, Lumina Foundation announces a new scholarship for women told they weren't good enough to lead. Please welcome our founder, Ms. Nora Bennett. I turned toward the stage. Excuse me, I said. Apparently, I have a legacy to build. I walked up slowly. The ballroom hushed. This scholarship, I said into the mic, is for anyone who's ever been told her dreams were impractical. I paused, then smiled. Let them laugh. Then let them watch you build something they can't ignore. The crowd erupted. And somewhere near the back, I saw Vanessa lower her eyes for the first time in her life. When I stepped down again, my father was waiting near the aisle. He looked older than I remembered. You did all this? He asked. Yes, I said. All of it. When you left the firm, Gavin said. I thought you threw your future away. I did, I said. The version of it you built for me? He nodded slowly. I was wrong. I smiled faintly. You've said that before? Tonight, I believe it. Then, a sudden commotion. Gavin's phone buzzed. What do you mean the acquisition closed today? He barked. Who bought the bank? Silence. His eyes darted toward me. You. Leo joined us, composed. Technically our holding company. You'll receive the paperwork Monday. Gavin blinked. You bought my bank? I lifted my glass. Just diversifying assets, nothing personal. Vanessa looked like she might faint. The whisper started instantly small, sharp, unstoppable. She owns it all. She bought his company. She's the judge's daughter? Grace reappeared beside me, camera crew ready. Nora, could we film a short statement for the event reel? I nodded. She held up the mic. What does tonight mean to you personally? I glanced at the crowd. At my family in the distance? At the glittering ceiling above us? It means, I said, that sometimes the door's meant to keep you out. End up opening because you built the walls around them. Applause again louder this time, freer. And just like that, the curtain of years lifted. They finally saw the woman behind it. Not the dropout. Not the disappointment. Just Nora Bennett name on every light in the room. By midnight, the ballroom was fading. Music softening, laughter thinning into polite goodbyes. I stood by the tall windows. The city glittering beneath me like 1,000 quiet victories. I thought revenge would feel fiery. Instead, it felt still, like standing in sunlight after years underground. My mother found me first. She looked smaller now, the pearls heavy against her throat. Nora, she began, I owe you an apology. For which part? I asked gently. For not believing in you? For assuming you needed saving? I smiled. I did need saving. I just had to do it myself. Her eyes glistened. You're stronger than I imagined. No, I said. I just stopped asking permission. She exhaled shakily. Your father was so proud on that stage, though he'll never say it loudly. I noticed, I whispered. She reached for my hand. Can we start again? Maybe, I said softly. But this time, I choose the terms. She nodded, eyes wet, and walked away lighter than she came. Vanessa approached next, hesitant, stripped of armor. I don't know what to say, she murmured. You destroyed every version of me I built to stay above you. You did that, I said kindly. I just stopped standing beneath. She laughed through tears. You forgive me? Forgiveness isn't surrender, I said. It's peace. And you seem done fighting ghosts. She smiled weakly. You win. There was never a race, I said. Just different roads. Gavin brushed past us, barking into his phone. I don't care if she bought it legally. Find me an out clause. When he noticed me listening, he muttered, Congratulations. Thank you, I replied. He grimaced. Guess the joke's on me. Only if you keep laughing at the wrong punchline. He turned away, and I let him. Some people only understand lessons written in balance sheets. Leo returned with 2 coffees instead of champagne. You still up, right? He teased. Barely. The adrenaline's wearing off. He smiled. You realize what you did tonight, don't you? I reminded them that worth doesn't need witnesses. That's poetry, he said. Maybe it's closure, I answered. He glanced toward the terrace. Your father's waiting. Outside, the night air was cool, the skyline stretching infinitely. My father stood there, jacket off, eyes on the horizon. That villa, he said without turning. You shouldn't have. It was never about the gift, I said. It's about giving something you can't return. He nodded slowly. I spent years measuring success by applause. Tonight, I learned that respect makes less noise. I looked at him, seeing not the judge, not the critic, just a man finally understanding the cost of pride. Can you forgive me? He asked quietly. I already did, I said. I just needed to forgive myself first. He smiled, faint and real. I'm proud of you, Nora. Thank you, I said. Now, say it like you mean it next time someone asks. He laughed low, genuine. For the first time in a lifetime, the space between us felt warm. Inside, staff were clearing tables, laughter replaced by clinking glass. Leo appeared again, motioning toward the elevator. Car's ready. Give me a minute, I said. He nodded and left me standing beneath the last chandelier. I looked up at it, the one I'd chosen myself. Its crystals catch the faint light of dawn creeping through the glass dome. This place had been their symbol of status. Now it was mine of survival. On the balcony, I whispered to the city below. For every woman who's ever been told to stay quiet, build your own room. The breeze carried it away like a vow. I thought of every night I'd spent working in silence, of every rejection letter, every patronizing smile. They were the foundation stones of this very floor. Now I stood here, not as their disappointment, but as proof that distance can become destiny. If you walk it long enough. Leo joined me again, slipping his hand into mine. I thought tonight would feel like revenge, I said. And it feels like peace. He smiled. That's rarer. Keep it. We stood there as the first light broke over the skyline. No applause, no cameras, just quiet satisfaction. Down below, the cleaning crew turned off the last light. The Luminara Grand fell into silence, my silence. For years I'd begged for their recognition, thinking it would make me whole. But tonight I finally understood. Applause fades. Respect endures. And peace Peace begins when you no longer need to prove you belong. I took one last look at the glowing city, my city, and whispered, I'm home.